Hello, my name is Michal Suffczynski. Welcome to my course of watercolor. I'm an artist from Poland, and my watercolors are present in different countries, on different continents. I had occasion to run workshops in Australia, Perth, in Scandinavia, in Sweden and Norway, also in Italy and Taipei, Taiwan. Usually I try to arrange the course in such a way that it might be important and attractive for the beginners and also for students and artists that have some experience. Exchanging ideas among artists, it's always bringing some new experience that might be interesting and important. We are going to start with real basics concerning perspective and mixing colors. Color wheel, that's absolutely crucial for understanding how to mix colors while painting. And next we move to still life and drawing of interior in architectural perspective, but still using color. And next, taking the advantage of nice weather, we hope to move outside to paint the landscape. Force of watercolor is that this is elastic, that this is good for traveling, that this is not huge stuff to bring around, and that this is kind of fast technique. Students may expect the feeling of freedom, the feeling of being not forced to do it, but to find a passion and to find a joy from even making errors. Like, why not? You see, how many times it happened that some portion of color was falling down. What is important, not to get scared and to know what to do with this. And we are demonstrating some, calm reactions to some small crises that occur while real painting. So I'm really moved about meeting you. I'm looking forward to the result. Be courageous, and not everything is done at the first touch properly, but still it's a fantastic adventure. Let's get started. Right, so after being back to the peak, I think this is the time just to be with the first layers on the machine. That is our crucial point. And for this, before I switch to the really big brush, kind of floppy one, I will attain my color with some kind of medium tired brush, but still it's very well arranging the color. As you see, I have put all the tubes once more to the water to soften them, to be prepared to obtain in a fast way, in a couple of minutes, some more portions of the blue, and I'm absolutely accepting this water is not fully clear because we are still moving on the brink of some greenish accents in this peak. That's why this water may be changed later as still preserved. So as you see, I have one more tube with some darker touches of being close to the range of blacks. Okay, seems promising, but still we have to add some bluish accents. By the way, this black metal of the locomotive is still catching some reflections of the blue touches, at least on like the upper part, but still I'm guessing it should be working for the first layer. Even don't be scared to use some violets, as always, with the blue skies. Mixing a little bit, but still preserving some portions different on the palette. And just to be frank, before I use this huge mop for the first layer on the machine, I think after a couple of minutes I will retrieve my tubes from fully immersed in the water. This might be off, no longer needed at this time. Okay. And now let's switch to the big brush. Still touching with this one once more, the colors. As always, I would spray over a little bit to have it safely wet. Not too much, but always needed. And I'm trying to start with very, very delicate hues. Touching violets. Okay. And as you see, I just go across all that I have prepared before. With a little bit like touch of warm, I mean a little bit like sandy color from up in this place. Okay, very nice. And as you see, this fluid masking, as always, is absolutely precious for arranging the first layers. However, in this zone of the lower part of the machine, we still have a huge contrast and it's kind of darkest places of the peak. So that's why I feel absolutely convinced to, as long as with the first layer we are about, it's still okay that we introduce some stronger touches, even if it's there like the basic layer of the You see this this changing from between shining and catching the shadow on this main cylinder, it's soft. That's why it's so important to act as long as we have it wet. As you see, I was using fluid masking, so that's why I can move across. I don't have to make it wheel by wheel. Okay, now I'm catching a slightly thinner brush. With a touch of something that seems slightly warmer in this part of a story. And softening to let it flow. Okay. Maybe inviting it, this hue somehow to flow down, okay. I guess this part that it seems to be kind of shining, I still have this. I still have it slightly stronger in bluish. As for those numbers that are so picturesque, I guess they should be scratched away at the last time, the last touch of the peak, for the peak. It has some green accent, also nice, but still it would be achieved with scratching at the real finishing. This seems much more bluish and darker, so let's try. Okay, and after this, this first layer becomes really darker. Maybe at this, okay, maybe at this point we can also take the advantage of having this kind of wet to wash out, you see, this part of engineering, like flowing away in a kind of soft way. Because once more, it's on a kind of cylindrical form. That's why we should have it softer. Fluid masking blocking us, that's even better. This might be more towards blue, but still it's the first layer. I'm still trying to enhance this, like more metal accent here. That's almost on the brink of seeing, but still worth of noticing. Right. Okay, and after this is like drying away, I would be back with small checking if it's a little bit wet as for now, but let's prepare the color and brush. I take violets, I take my warm blacks, and still moving across as long as we have it kind of wet. Okay, I think let it dry, and still I will be restarting on the part that is almost dry. With a touch of blue as always and a touch of violets. And still coming down to stronger accents. So as you see, I'm just moving in a kind of way that still some places are left not that equal as the major touches. And this is definitely one of the darkest places of a story, so I'm just back to it with a very strong touch. We are absolutely entitled to use our finger if needed. Okay. As for the upper part of the chimney, we may be acting here. Still, as you see, with the masking fluid on. With some accent here. Now I switch to some other brush that is kind of medium size. And still moving across, leaving this slightly shining. Still slightly wet, that's why I don't touch anymore here, to preserve this difference. This might be drawn in next layers, but still let's wait before touching. I guess we may continue with the chimney over here. Okay, this is dry, so I may continue with like differentiating from the lights that we have on this upper part of the cylinder. And really coming to the full contrast over there. Okay, and some more precise touches, noticing some smaller parts of the machine, but still moving across with the hope of scratching before all the stuff is done. And also this casted shadow from some other part in the front might be put at this moment. Okay, having this color on the brush, we can still continue on the darker parts of the chimney. These are kind of soft forms, so we shouldn't act too strong. With some more bluish. And this is really strong accent. We may switch to some more precise brush. So the shadow here is really kind of very strong. Okay, seems like responding to of what we see, and we see some structure parts in a rhythm that I guess we may have a glimpse of this. We may also introduce with the precise brush like the accents, also with a casted shadow just now, because it seems always the same. With the casted shadow. Next, this also comes kind of dark accent. This protruding part of a circle. With a shadow. Okay, and also this stick protruding is giving a huge, strong shadow. Still seems to be a kind of some other, a kind of shelf that's slightly wider than that. That's why the shadow is wider. Okay. And once more, the impression of a number, still with the casted shadow. Okay, after the fluid masking is taken off, we'll continue with the rhythm of the night, of some connections of the structure, but still at this level we may introduce the first layer for this. And after the pigment is being like used off, we are back to our colors. So black, there's a kind of ivory black. And ivory black is slightly warmer than other blacks that I call them cold blacks. Okay. Still there is some other accent protruding above that's still giving some shadows and some divisions on this major cylinder. Okay. Still here we might be more courageous about contrasting. That's really dark. And also here. Here we see like the kind of a metal element that's parallel to this one and cancelled a little bit like of the round in perspective here, so we should show it. Okay, and next with scratching we'll have this effect of shining. Now this is completely dried away. That's very nice. So we may continue over here. Now I soften this edge because we'll be needing this to say about something about those 4 sticks. And still stronger touches of this focal point. Okay, now we continue with some noticeable differences in between different shadows coming to the structure. And still, you know, I'm observing kind of divisions on the elevation of this, on the side elevation of the machine, introducing those divisions that I have the impression of them. Not very exact, but still, you know, it's not repeating of the photo. So as you see, I'm using, from time to time, I'm using my fingertip to soften the edge. That's maybe, I guess it's kind of personal attitude, maybe not recommended because you have to be very careful about such an action, but still helpful if any fast reaction is needed. Okay, now I think I will make a couple of touches on the right side, still having this wet. I have it's absolutely obvious. I have a kind of trouble to, as you see, when I paint, to be kind of precise, I always put the upper edge of my hand, I'm putting on board. So if I want to act here, I should put my hand on this, and still being wet, I have to wait for a while to let it dry, okay, to be able to proceed with this. As for now, I guess this effect is kind of responding to the major motif, but still we have to let it dry to see the effect. Half dry, kind of impressional touch. This one is still shining too much. That's why upside light, I'm correcting this to be even darker. Also here. And also here. Now being able to act from this point of support with the length of the brush, I may also introduce some strong accents here. Also a kind of accent of an evidently casted shadow. Here. Okay, and I guess as for now we should let it dry, really, to be back for a while to see what's going on, to decide about next divisions, but still it's coming to the form, yeah. Okay, that's for now enough.
I think the depth and structuring of the courses on New Masters Academy really stands out, just the variety of topics that were being taught at New Masters. And they're all taught by industry professionals and very experienced teachers. I think it's really important for building like a solid understanding, and that allows you to really fully express yourself.